On this week's Pressbox Fantasy Football Show, Ken Zalis and I are going to break down Kevin Owens deciding to stay with WWE instead of departing for AEW. Because that's what we want to talk about on this week's show. Good morning, or good wherever we are. It's wherever.
So,
What's that?
He doesn't have COVID right now. So.
He's got unlike the NFL where everybody's got it. We'll talk about that. Pressbox Fantasy Football Show, Glenn Clark, Paul Valley, and of course your lovely and talented host, Mr. Ken Zalis. What's going on, sir?
Week 15, everybody.
Playoff time, baby.
Just about everybody's in the playoffs.
If you're not in your playoffs right now, you got a problem.
Well, there are some people that only 4 teams make the playoffs, and so they play 16 and 17.
That's dumb.
But just about everybody's there. It's if last week wasn't the most important week of the year, this certainly is. So.
I mean, it's a really important week. There's no question about that.
It's great.
I missed the playoffs in one of my leagues.
Oh,
I was like 3-11, dude. It was literally the worst.
I mean, but then you didn't really miss it. You knew you were not going to be in the playoffs. It's not like you dealt with any heartbreak.
Everybody got hurt on my team at different times.
Happened to a lot of people this season.
3-11, worst fantasy season in my entire life.
That's not great.
But worst fantasy season I've ever had.
You might have to fire Urban Meyer. I got bad news.
I have a couple of 3-11 teams this year. So,
Can I ask you real quick? Where does Urban Meyer go down in history? Like Nick Saban going to the Dolphins, Bill Belichick ditching the Jets for the Patriots like the first day.
I don't know. It's hard to compare. Bobby Petrino. It's hard to compare all that, but it ain't good for sure.
It's a terrible hire to begin with.
Pressbox Fantasy. We'll talk about that actually in a second. Yeah. Pressbox Fantasy Football Show is brought to you by CCBC. Need to hone your computer skills to boost your career, or maybe you want an IT certification? CCBC Continuing Education has the courses and programs you need for a career in the computer field, and it's all tuition free. From the basics to specialized training, we have the classes you need, from hardware to programming to cybersecurity and so much more. It's your choice. It's your career. Call 443-840-4700 or visit ccbcmd.edu/computer training. All right, because it was just brought up, let's just continue that conversation, sure. KZ, because we know you to be a man who loves himself some James Robinson.
Yes.
We also know that James Robinson has been absolutely toxic over the last couple of weeks when it comes to a fantasy football perspective. You could not play him, and I hope you didn't. All of a sudden, because Urban Meyer is gone, there are plenty of voices that are saying, well, this might make James Robinson viable. And perhaps it does, but I will tell you, my friend, it won't be this week for me. I will need to see it before I do it.
And I think that is really fair and probably on the 60-40 side of being smarter than other teams that are just going to fire him up. Here's the thing with James Robinson. Look, I think the Urban Meyer thing was bad from the start for James Robinson. When he brought in Carlos Hyde, for the first, I guess, game and a half to 2.5 games, really tried to make it kind of a committee type thing. And then all of a sudden, James Robinson, somebody in the building must have said, hey,
I don't know if you heard.
I don't know if
this
you
guy's
heard.
okay.
I don't know if you saw tape last year, but he's top 5 in the league. Catch balls out of the backfield. He's really, really good. Kind of a good player. And they start using them. He said he was getting either 100 yards or a touchdown every single week, and then the injury popped up, and then the fumble thing popped up, and did Urban Meyer bench him for fumbling? Did the offensive coordinator bench him for fumbling? And that's the big problem right now, because as much as we want to say that everybody's got a little skip in their step because Meyer isn't there, and it's probably true from people. I know some people that cover the team that work in fantasy that are saying, this was a really horrible situation. Everybody, coaches hated him. Coaches he hired hated him. The players hated him. The players made fun of him. But other than that, it was a great situation. But, the offensive coordinator's been calling plays, and unless we know for
Urban
a fact,
Meyer had a knife to his throat,
unless he was told flat out, do not play James Robinson until I tell you again.
Right.
And we don't know that for sure. And the other problem here is the matchup is on paper really good this week against the Texans. So I have him as a bottom half RB2.
Eesh.
Okay? Now, I'm not going to be upset with anybody that says, I don't want to play James Robinson.
No
I don't
chance.
trust it. There's no way. The problem here is right now, today, there are things we don't know. I don't know what's going on in the New England backfield. I don't know if it's Damian Harris is healthy, if he's going to play, if Ramondre Stevens is, if they're going to split, we don't know what that is.
Stevenson, like the school,
sorry.
yeah.
We don't know for sure if Michael Carter is back. Could be back. They're supposed to, bring him back from IR. We don't know that. We have no earthly idea what's going on in the best matchup for any running back in the league going up against the Jets with the Miami Dolphins. We don't know who's could come back from COVID.
Yep.
We don't know who that they just signed. The only bad thing is I just saw they activated Dexter Jackson from the practice squad, which means
Wasn't he a cornerback for the Buccaneers at some point?
could have been. There's been lots of that going on. I mean, the names that we've, the Craig Johnson thing that came up last week in Detroit. I was like, didn't he play like outfield for the Astros or something?
Maybe. I've never heard of that man.
I mean, and if you can,
I thought it was Craig Reynolds.
Craig Reynolds. Sorry,
Yeah.
Craig Reynolds. And if you can name the school that he went to, good for you.
No, that would make none of us.
I know more about Kutztown.
Is that what it's?
That's where. Yeah. The football powerhouse. But see, and that's what makes it hard with James Robinson, because if all those guys for the Dolphins don't play, and Damian Harris doesn't play, and Michael Carter isn't active,
Okay.
I mean, we're starting to run out of guys. You're starting to run out of people. I mean, we just sort of are. So it's like nobody should be ranking him under flex-worthy running back. Like he's not in the 40s. If you're in the 30s, you're fine. But right now, we also don't know what's going on with Darrell Henderson. That's another one. There's so many questions going on right now at running back that I am at 23.
So let's run through all of those COVID issues. Like, who are the guys that we're monitoring? It was separated from injuries. Who are we monitoring from a COVID standpoint that it doesn't look good for right now? Who should you also own if you're an owner of some of these guys? Like, do your best with this at the moment.
Yeah, I mean the big thing is Miami, because like they're all there. Gaskin and Ahmed, and there's been Malcolm Brown maybe coming back from IR. You have Duke Johnson. I mean, the absurdity of all this is that. The thing you're looking for is Gaskin. We want Gaskin to get back, and then he's a plug-and-play running back 2 this week. No doubt in my mind, if he's activated, he's the guy. I'm not worried about any of the other ones. I'm not interested. I think the name to keep in the back of your head is Gerald Dokes.
Who? Who?
I know. This is where we are.
Who in the world is Gerald Dokes?
I think he is the undrafted.
That's a made-up Madden name. That's a creative player.
I think he is the undrafted kid from Florida State, I want to say.
This is not a thing.
Okay, somebody will have to look him up for me to see where
Gerald Dokes.
But he is the undrafted free agent that they have. He's been active a couple of times. Got some juice to him. And I can't tell you to go out and grab Duke Johnson. It's just not in me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I hear you. I hear you.
I mean, it's bad enough I have Royce Freeman, on my
he
rankings.
He was a real thing.
He looked fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's the situation.
It's Jared Dokes. Jared.
What did I say, Gerald?
Gerald. Yeah.
Okay, close.
Jared Dokes.
Would that have helped a lot?
Oh
for
yeah,
you?
now I know who it is.
Oh yeah.
Jared.
Where was
Dokes.
he from? Is he from Florida State?
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. Okay, there you go.
7th round pick.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, but that's a name. As far as COVID goes, I mean, that's the big thing there as far as the running back position goes. The COVID thing, with the Browns, I mean, the one that we're really looking at is Landry more than anything, in a PPR. I know he hasn't been great, but a PPR thing. I don't think Cooper for when they added him gets back. I don't care if it's Baker. We're not playing Baker. I mean, we're just not at this point. But I'd rather have I'd rather have Baker throwing the ball.
I get it, right? I get it.
I mean,
I think a lot of people talked about Donovan Peoples-Jones this week.
I mean, I have him ranked as high as I've had him ranked because he's
the
who else
guy.
he's throwing
Right,
to. I
correct.
mean, Njoku is a guy that I believe he's back this week from. I think he was already activated from the COVID list. So with Hooper going out, I mean, he's a plug and play type tight end, and if they don't have Landry, it's like. I mean, outside of Peoples-Jones, I don't know if Bryant's back yet. The third tight end that they play. So, that's where we are. As far as skill positions, the COVID issues aren't as bad as the injury concerns goes. I think the places that we're looking at the COVID issues is like your Eagles because they're facing the Washington defense, the Browns. More so on the offensive line. I mean, you got to start considering they're missing 3 of their 5 offensive linemen. What does that do for Chubb and Dearness Johnson? Because we're not going to have Hunt because of injury. So I think those are the things that you start looking at. You can't just kind of look at, well, who are the players? It's like, well, who are it's really team wide
right.
Because there's not that many big stars right now that are on that COVID list. But it's more like 3 of the 5 offensive linemen for the Browns are on there. 2 of the defensive starters for the Washington football team. Excuse me, God, are on there. So that helps the Eagles, hurts a team defense that we've been using for a couple weeks because they've been better. So. And you just have to monitor. I mean, this isn't stopping. There are more people that are going on this list
no question.
Between now and Sunday. So anybody that feels like they're looking at their roster and is like, I feel really good.
What? Did you just see something pop up? What? Just say it out loud.
Jalen Waddle.
Then very valuable piece. He's been a very valuable fantasy football player.
He is going. And it's funny. I mean, it literally just popped up as I was making this statement. And I wasn't making this statement because I saw it. I was making this statement because it was going to happen. And that just destroys me in many situations because I have him everywhere. But so more people are going to go. You cannot feel comfortable with your roster. I mean, the waiver wire right now, you have to be ready. Head on a swivel. Anybody,
Yep.
there is literally nobody on your waiver wire that you should just
dismiss
and say there's no way I'm adding them, and you have to make decisions. I've had a couple of people ask me already this week. Looking ahead, no,
get through.
No,
a lot of people do that. They want to get next week's defense on their roster now.
I said to somebody, I was like, no. I said, I'm not telling you to drop this to pick up that because you don't know. You may have to drop that second defense that you have on your roster to get a position player to play because you cannot feel comfortable right now with what's going on in the NFL as far as COVID goes. It is every day there are more. I mean, people were feeling good. Up until 30 seconds ago, I felt really good about my situation in a couple of leagues at wide receiver, including one that I think I have a real chance. Now I have to figure out where I'm going at wide receiver. And, Devontae Parker is still on some waiver wires maybe.
Sure.
I mean, you gotta grab him if you just lost Waddles. But we haven't even talked about an injury yet.
Right, so let's talk about it's the Press Box Fantasy Football Show. Casey, let's talk about tonight.
Yes.
Austin Eckler, we think.
So the latest report is that he will play. He will not have a full workload. Now, this is not Dalvin Cook 2.0, okay? There was never, ever a report that if Dalvin Cook played, he would have a diminished role.
Sure.
And when Dalvin Cook plays,
yes, he's the
guy. If he's healthy enough to play, he plays. I kind of believe we're in a diminished workload with Eckler. You have to start him. I mean, I can't imagine benching him because even
He catches the ball.
he catches the ball. They use him around the goal line. Now maybe they don't do that as much. And I'm totally not interested in Jackson, Kelly, or Roundtree tonight. So for me, it's Eckler at the running back position, and there's no one else I'm even considering right now. And I don't want to hear how desperate you are. There'll be other opportunities to pick somebody else that you're not thinking of right now that is going to play because of a different injury or / COVID situation. So I believe that it's a diminished role. I don't believe he gets as many touches, but I still think he's the third down back, and I still think he gets at least half the touches inside the red zone.
Where do you have the Arizona receivers with DeAndre Hopkins out?
Another buzzkill.
Big
and
one.
by the way, he's
Big
now out for at least through the first round of the playoffs.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a minimum.
Doesn't really matter.
I know,
Yeah.
but just I have them together. I have AJ Green and Kirk as wide receiver 3s, and then I have, if you want to throw a dart, I have Rondell Moore. Right now, I don't have him startable. I have him in my 60s because there's just not a role for him, even when it's a prayer type thing. There's not a definitive role for him. I think the guy that bumps up in my rankings the most is probably going to be Ertz, who's probably going to be a top 10 tight end for me this week because of the prowess in the red zone. I have Ertz at 7 right now. I think he's the big winner of all of this because Hopkins wasn't great last week anyway, but you saw that they targeted him a lot in the red zone. Well, now we're going to target other people, and Ertz seemed to be that guy when Hopkins wasn't there. So Hurts is the big winner. I think you can use both Kirk and A.J. Green, but I'm not getting carried away with either one of them. They're not. They're 3s for me.
If Lamar Jackson doesn't play, which
Yes.
we all kind of are leaning towards at the moment, but that's not. We don't know that either. Is there Tyler Huntley value, or there's a better option for you that's available?
I gotta think there's a better option. I'm kind of looking. I have Justin Fields at 16 this week.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see me ranking Huntley above Justin Fields.
Okay.
Because of what we've seen from Fields, and he's now running the ball more, and if things like that. And I get that Huntley runs the ball, and he's looked great. He has.
I'm not willing
He's
to
looked,
go.
for what he's been asked to do.
Based on expectations,
Right.
he has surpassed expectations.
But I look at okay, who's 17 to 20 for me? Tannehill, Roethlisberger, Wentz, Carr. I don't think there's a path for me to start Huntley.
Okay. Just too many options.
There's just other options, and there's look. If I said to you right now, Tyler Huntley versus Green Bay, or Davis Mills versus Jacksonville, I don't think it's a slam dunk either way.
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
and I have Davis. I have Davis Mills at 26.
I can't start Davis Mills.
Okay,
yeah.
but what I'm saying is the matchups there.
I hear you. I hear what
He
you're
looked
saying.
really good last week.
I hear what you're saying.
I can't start either one, but if I'm going to give you both, I don't think it's just, of course I'm going to start Huntley.
Right.
I don't think it's there yet. So I will not have Tyler Huntley ranked in my top 25 this week. So I think there are better options. Now, if you're in a 2-quarterback league, yeah, I mean, you do what you got to do there. I mean, if you want to start Huntley over the likes of Mills, Cam Newton, Matt Ryan, Mac Jones, Teddy Bridgewater, sure. I mean that I just read 21 to 26. I'm fine there. I'm not going to argue against you. Teddy's a game manager. He's the highest one that I have there. Seemingly isn't throwing the ball as much. 20 times a game. You got to think Huntley's throwing at least that.
I would think. It's the Packers he's playing against. Right?
I mean, you got to think that. So, yeah, I think there's a 2-quarterback league. I think he has some value.
And quickly, DeAndre Swift, where are we with him?
He will not play. I don't think he gets back, but we may have. We should have mentioned him in the COVID, but we may have Jamal Williams back, which kind of ruins the whole Craig train that we had last week out of literally nowhere.
Literally nowhere. Yes. I'm glad I picked up Jamar Jefferson. Not that I played him, but
sadly,
yeah.
I was forced to.
Oh, yikes!
I do a lot. I did not.
I actually did kind of screw myself because Proctor told me he was going to pick him up in one league and didn't, and instead picked up Royce Freeman, and worked out quite well for him by playing Royce Freeman instead of playing Jamar Jefferson.
Freeman looked good. So I just, we're playing lots of people you didn't expect to even be on a fantasy roster this year.
It's where we are. All right, last call for your questions. Get them in right now. We'll answer them when we come back in. It is the Press Box Fantasy Football Show. If you can get them in the comments or get them at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter, those are the way to get your questions in, and we will pose them to KZ next on the Press Box Fantasy Football Show.
Need to hone your computer skills to boost your career? Or maybe you want an IT certification. CCBC Continuing Education has the courses and programs you need for a career in the computer field. And it's all tuition-free. From the basics to specialized training, we have the classes you need from hardware to programming to cybersecurity, and so much more. It's your choice. It's your career. Call 443-840-4700 or visit ccbcmd.edu/computer training.
Glory Days Grill's winter seasonal menu is back with comfort classics like their house-made meatloaf and short-rib grilled cheese. It also features the center-cut sirloin with grilled shrimp, the char-grilled pork tenderloin, grilled meatloaf sandwich, smoky thigh wings with Alabama barbecue sauce, and a Brussels and bacon appetizer. All of these items pair well with Devil's Backbone 8-Point IPA or their anniversary IPA brewed by Devil's Backbone. And try their seasonal cocktails, Blood Orange Bourbon Cider, Apple Ginger Mule, and Captain's Hot Cider. Find out more and get your order in today at glorydaysgrill.com. Great food, good sports.
Window Depot Baltimore provides the highest quality Pro Via windows, doors, and siding for all budgets. The best is finally affordable. Call them today for a free in-home consultation at 410-941-3499. They also offer Zoom and FaceTime consultations in an effort to practice social distancing. A proud sponsor of the Tyus Bowser Show, you can find out more at WindowDepotBaltimore.com.
If you change lanes and brake suddenly in front of my tractor trailer, I won't be able to stop. Our lives could change forever. Trucks need room to stop. Don't cut it close.
Brought to you by the Maryland Department of Transportation State Highway Administration.
Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
What's up, everybody? This is Tyus Bowser. I can't wait to see you guys for the Tyus Bowser Show this fall. We're going to be taking the show on the road all over the area. You can meet me and my very special guests. If you can't make it out, you can watch the show on live on Pressbox Facebook page or listen the next day. Find out more about where we'll be by checking out PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. We'll see you all season long for the Tyus Bowser Show.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, December 21st at Skipjack's on Bel Air Road in Overley. The show is brought to you by Pressbox, Grade 8's Memorabilia, Window Depot Baltimore, WindowDepotBaltimore.com, Duffy's Garage in Baldwin, Duffy'sGarageMD.com, and the NFL chick Sarita Hubbard joins the show courtesy of MyBookie.
All right, back in here on the Pressbox Fantasy Football Show. KZ, Underdog Fantasy Football is a lot of fun. People should be playing, shouldn't they?
They should be. I'll send out a lineup later tonight for tonight's game, but you could do these over-unders. You do play. It's like player props, 2 to 5. Win up to 20 times your money. You can do rivals, which is really, really cool. Like the one I'm looking at right now for receiving yards tonight, will Darrell Williams or Clyde Edwards-Helaire have more receiving yards in tonight's game? And Clyde Edwards-Helaire gets an additional 4.5. So that's kind of cool. You can do that in many things. You could do it within teammates. You could do it against other teams. Keenan Allen or Tyreek Hill, who will have more receiving yards this week. There are also lots of salary cap games and draft games. You could draft against 5 other people. You can do that. NBA, NHL. There'll be Major League Baseball. There's soccer. All kinds of fun stuff. And the best part is, go sign up. Deposit up to $100 or more if you'd like to. But for up to $100, if you put in the code PRESSBOX, they will match you dollar for dollar.
All right, KZ. As always, we start with me because I'm most important. I'm basically going to end up telling you my entire roster because of all the various mechanisms of what could be happening here. So, for example, right now, the 3 receivers I have in my lineup are Jamar Chase, Hollywood Brown, and Jerry Jeudy.
Okay.
The other receivers that I have on my bench are Cortland Sutton, A.J. Green, and Jarvis Landry. So, I guess the first layer to the question is, if Landry doesn't play, would you move Green or Sutton ahead of any of Chase, Brown, or Jeudy?
I would move Green ahead of Jeudy.
Okay.
Sutton is unplayable to me. In fact, he's droppable in situations where you need to have something else just in case. He's not seeing any targets at all. Judy's the guy seeing the targets. But the bottom line is Denver is not throwing the ball enough right now. I also wouldn't start if Landry's active. He will not be ahead of Green for me.
Okay,
and
so that answers that part of the question. All right, now, on to the next part of my roster. Obviously, I'm starting Dalvin Cook.
You are.
My other running back options would be, if you don't think DeAndre Swift is playing,
I do not.
So that would be off the table. Jamal Williams, if he's available. Miles Sanders, Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
No, it's Edwards-Helaire for me.
All right.
Yeah, he's a top 15 back for me.
So now this brings us to the flex issue.
Yeah.
Which is all of the other names that we have just listed here.
So if
Oh, and James Robinson, but I just can't do it. I'm not. If you told me it was James Robinson, I would tell you, Ken, I love you. I'm not doing it.
Well, I mean, when we're talking about this group,
yes,
and true to my rankings, it is James Robinson, but I'm not.
I
understand.
I love you.
I understand.
I'm not
Like
doing
we talked about that already. It would be Jamal Williams if he's back.
Right.
Okay. If he's not back, I'd probably go Jeudy just for the target share and the high floor as it is, the highest floor there, because these are all guys. I mean, we just can't take 2 points from anybody. And you feel kind of good about 5 for 40 with Jeudy week in and week out, and I can't say the same for anybody else.
Okay. There's still a part of me that looks at Miles Sanders against that depleted defense, but I get it. We're talking about the Philadelphia running back situation.
I don't know. I mean, Howard's supposed to be back this week, and now we're talking about a 3-headed monster there. And every time Howard's been active, they use him in the red zone, and they use Scott in the passing game and Gainwell. It's just there's too many mouths to feed.
Is David Johnson a factor at all?
I mean, he's a factor. But he's not a.
But not somebody you're going and picking up.
He should be owned right now with the way running backs are. I mean, he should be owned.
So
like if you were to say to me, I'd rather have him than Cortland Sutton on my team.
All right, but you're not playing him over.
He's ranked 34th for me this week. So
if I'm not going to play James Robinson, which I said I'm not going to do.
No, you're still. It's still Jamal and then Jeudy for me.
Okay, ahead of.
He's not
David
ahead
Johnson.
of him,
All right.
but with the way running backs and
Yeah,
like I rather
reality.
like if I'm playing a flex this week, I'm playing David Johnson over Cortland Sutton, so I'd rather have David Johnson on my roster.
All right, from Nick Kelly, am I all in, James Robinson? Am I all in on James Robinson, or do I start Saquon over him?
I mean, I have Saquon ranked over him. I don't love the matchup for Saquon, but I mean, he did play well last week. They did throw him the ball. They're not really using the other running backs outside of Penny as a fullback guy in the red zone, kooky plays. So yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys that I'm going to play over James Robinson this week.
Paul from Orlando. Paul from Ovilando. For my second running spot, not knowing whether Darrell Henderson is going to be active, I have to choose between Donta Foreman, Tony Pollard. It's a PPR.
I'm going Foreman there. I get they say Pollard's going to play. He has a torn plantar fasciitis. That I don't know if you've ever had that injury.
Not great.
That hurts. Like, it hurts to get out of bed and walk. I know they'll put an orthotics in there and they'll give him some numbing stuff, but I'd rather play Corey Clements over Pollard. So I'm going Foreman there.
I know how you're going to answer this question, but I'm going to engage with it anyway. With it being the playoffs, is it worth switching kickers? I have Carlson, or are they all pretty much the same?
I think you should switch him.
Okay. You normally would just say, are we really talking about kickers right now? That's
I would,
the way
but,
that you would.
But we're talking about kickers. If you want to switch them, switch them. I mean, I'm not going to tell you which one to switch them to. I don't know who's available. If Greg Joseph is available, yeah, switch him.
Okay.
If Tyler Bass is available,
all right,
switch him.
T-Bass. Oh, kick his ass, T-Bass.
I don't know. I have
All
Carlson 15th. I do rank kickers. I don't like talking about. I know it's so awful.
There you go.
It's so awful.
There you go.
So yeah, sure, switch them. If that's your inclination, stand with it.
It's good that you're answering this question and not me. Dan wants to know Javonte Williams or James Robinson.
Oh, Javonte Williams.
All
I mean,
right.
look, he's getting. I get that the number of carries could be in Robinson's favor, could be, but we haven't seen that in 2 weeks, and everything that Williams is doing, even in the timeshare last week, is fantastic. He's not getting. I mean, they're not going away from him. So yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Chris says he is an owner of the 49ers defense, wants to know if – what?
Fantastic.
Okay, so that might be the answer. Wants to know if he should go out and pick up any of this group, the Jaguars, Steelers, Vikings, Texans, or Titans.
No.
Okay, there you go.
I have the 49ers as my 7th best defense this week versus those Falcons.
They're playing the Falcons, right?
Yeah.
The Falcons have been pretty good.
Yeah, but Ryan's been known to throw it to the other team, and offensive line isn't great for the Falcons. So
Yeah, Proctor has a really important question. He says, ask KZ, I have a bye this week. Should I binge the new season of The Witcher or attempt to brew my next batch of beer?
I would brew your next batch of beer.
You're a piece of garbage, John Proctor. Rob Gronkowski, Kyle Pitts, or Zach Ertz?
Gronkowski still. He's in my top 5.
I thought you were just going on about how you were in love with Zach Ertz.
I am, but
I thought you were trying to get an apartment with him, move into a brownstone or something.
I have Gronk at 3 and Ertz at 7. I have Pitts at 6. I mean, you just gave me 3 of my top 7. What do you want me to do?
Very good. Go ahead, Paul.
All right, I think you just answered my question. If you have Pitts, if you have Pitts at 6, well, I'm not allowed to not ask.
What a jerk!
I got to start 2 of these 3: James Robinson, Kyle Pitts, and Devontae Parker.
Well, with the Waddle news, let's fire up Parker. He's going to get in there. These flex things, and it goes.
Pitts hasn't. It's a half PPR league. He hasn't been fantasy relevant in 7 weeks.
I'm going to stay true to what I believe, and it's still James Robinson for me over Pitts. But I'm not going to be mad if you go against my advice. Pitts could. I mean, it's very easy that James Robinson can have his same 6 touches again, and it doesn't work. Once again, we are still dealing. I mean, he is dealing with some injury stuff, but he's played through it. I just look at Pitts getting 7-8 targets a week, and the possibility of 15 to 20 touches from James Robinson is my deciding factor.
Okay. Is Chase? I know what's going on in Pittsburgh and him not giving the ball back to the ref. Is there any kind of punishment you think they're going to give Chase Claypool? Is he worth a start?
I mean, I haven't met as a wide receiver 2 this week. So
okay.
So yeah, I mean,
who are your options?
We haven't heard anything out of Pittsburgh that there'll be anything, any punishment made from him. Don't expect him when his contract's over to be a Pittsburgh Steeler anymore if the same coaching staff is there. But as far as they're still in it, they're trying to win games. he gives them the best option to do that.
So my options, I have a lot of injuries. My options right now, I have Rashad Bateman. I could start him in a flex. I have Melvin Gordon, Damian Harris, Michael Carter.
Wait.
So I have to start. I only need to start 2 wide receivers. Right, and then I have a flex.
So you can start Gordon instead of Claypool.
Well, it's tough. So Claypool will be my wide receiver number 2, and then I have Gordon in my flex. And on my bench, I have Harris, I have Michael Carter, I have Rashad Bateman.
Okay, you're not playing Bateman over Claypool, so we're good.
Okay.
All right, very good. From Ryan, Gerald Everett, Ricky Seals-Jones, or C.J. Uzoma?
I'm sorry. I really am. I don't mean to laugh, but I mean, we're
tight end after the first.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh, he does say he was a Logan Thomas owner.
Oh, well, that sucks. It was okay. So
Seals-Jones, Everett, Uzoma. Let's see. Number 19,
But where are
Gerald
the other
Everett.
two?
Number 20, Ricky Seals-Jones. Number 21, Uzoma.
So it's Everett based on this. I would, if you need upside, and I'm.
By the way, I played Ricky Seals-Jones last week in my Logan Thomas league.
So did I. Just God.
Yeah. But I'm going to drop him right now for Gerald Everett.
I'm gonna tell you right now if as I see you just did that.
I just did that.
If you need upside, you could do worse than Brevin Jordan this week. Just saying.
Okay.
He's out there.
Okay.
I just picked him up in a league.
Okay. Are you playing him?
If T.J. Hockenson is hurt,
Yeah,
I
fair.
certainly am.
Fair. From Steve. Steve says, if Odell Beckham were to play, is it him or A.J. Dillon for a flex?
Luckily, I don't think you're going to have to make this decision, but
Yeah.
because I don't think he's playing. I'm going to go if Beckham, if he's playing, play him, because the one thing the Ravens still have done, as hurt as they are, is they have stopped the run, and that's how they used Dillon last week with him and Jones together. Jones was 90% of the time the pass-catching running back. So I would go Beckham Jr., but I don't think you're going to have to make that decision.
What about Royce Freeman or A.J. Dillon?
No, I'm still doing Dillon.
All right.
I'm not,
All right.
I mean, I can't. I get it. Look good.
And you're not playing T.Y. Hilton over him.
No.
All right, and for Jalen Hurts or Tua. Sorry, Jalen Hurts or Tua.
It's actually very, very close.
Sounds about right. Pretty good matchup.
I have Tua really high, but I'm going to go Hurts just because of the what we're seeing with the Washington defense, and he'll get more on the ground. And I think at the end of the day, if Miami gets a couple of these running backs back, you just pound the ball against the Jets. They can't stop anybody on the ground. So it's Hurts.
All right, very good. Anything else we need to know before the first week of the playoffs?
Not really. I think we just have to. You just really have to pay attention. The Washington football team center just got put on the COVID. Like, this is all day long up until game time. People are being put on COVID lists. We saw it last week, right on Sunday morning. All of a sudden, people are on COVID lists. You have to be there, and you also, and I beg people of this, know your waiver wire rules right now.
Mm-hmm.
There are leagues still.
I want to talk about
that waiver wire shut
gets
down
locked.
the first game.
Yep.
So if right now, and
by the way, fix your leagues.
Yes, fix your leagues. If you are in one of those leagues, you have your roster. You need to pick up handcuffs for guys that are in your starting roster and remove the people that you're not planning to start right now if you're in one of those leagues that lock, because you need to have options. And petition your league to change that rule. But we're going to see. We've seen 2 already today that are going on, that have gone on COVID. I don't think this is over until Sunday morning, and it's probably this way through the rest of the fantasy playoffs.
All right. At Fans Fantasy is how you follow him on Twitter if you didn't get your question in. And KZ, the final question comes to us from Brian Powell. Why are you not in our college football bowl pick'em?
I didn't realize there were still spots, and I was very late. And I felt it was better to give other people a chance to win since I've won it.
Well, we're using some of the money for charity.
I know we're certainly not going to pick on me for my.
Oh, you
charitable
have
part.
been very good to us.
So I know we're not going to do that.
That part, Brian Powell, is true.
But
we could still use somebody getting in the bowl pick'em. We could still use that.
You always know when you need somebody.
Could still use somebody. Could still use somebody getting
When's
in on the
bowl game?
Tomorrow. That's why I think
Bahama Bowl, right?
Yeah, it's the Bahama Bowl, 100%.
Can't
It's the
believe
big
we
one.
didn't- I can't believe we
bowl
didn't pick that
season.
game.
Yeah, I didn't include that on the list. It's not a great list of games this weekend.
Never is.
Could still use somebody. Could
Okay.
still use somebody.
We'll talk after the
All
show.
right. Hey, speaking of our charity endeavors, tonight we'll be at Glory Days Grill from 6:30 to 8:30. Please bring your coats, your clothes, anything that can help us helping up mission. We could use it. We'll see you there at Glory Days Grill in Towson, and you should try their winter seasonal menu. It includes the comfort foods that you love and crave, like the short rib grilled cheese, as well has the center-cut sirloin with grilled shrimp, the house-made meatloaf, the char-grilled pork tenderloin, the grilled meatloaf sandwich, the smoky thigh wings with Alabama barbecue sauce, and the Brussels and bacon appetizer. GloryDaysGrill.com is the website to get your order in. KZ, appreciate you, pal. We'll see you next Thursday.
Yes, you will.
This has been the Press Box Fantasy Football Show.